Hello and welcome to another episode of EmpowHER. I am your host, Sharon Ajay. And of course, we know that EmpowHER is a show where we get to bring to you women who are remarkable, who have done spectacularly well in their field and their society, their community, and of course, the globe at large. And today we have an amazing woman. She is one of those women who proves to you that you can be brilliant, impactful, and still wear many hats with grace. She's a phenomenal woman who is redefining what it means to live with purpose in the digital age. She's a lawyer who specializes in technology law, and she's passionate about making sure our rights are protected in this digital age. She's also the head of legal and deputy general manager at Afri Venture Capital, where she helps startups across Africa grow. But that's not all. She's also the founder of We Ignite Lives for Greater Nigeria initiative to empower young people and women. Well, with all of this being said, let's make a ground welcome of Veronica Igube. I love how I pronounce the surname. You're welcome, Veronica. It's good to have you in the studio today, I must say.
Thank you very much, Sharon. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you. And you look amazingly well. You look beautiful in lilac. I love the color, by the way. It suits your skin so well.
Thank you so much. You look beautiful as well. I love your outfit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So we're going on a short break now. When we return, we'll dive right into the program fully. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is EmpowHER, and we have a delectable guest in our midst, Veronica Igube. She's a technology lawyer, I would say, right? Yeah. Now, Veronica, you've carved out a space in technology law. And of course, that's not a very, known field. I would say it's relatively new field in our world today. Now, not in our world, by the way, I'll say in our this part of the world, right? What inspired you to go into that field or to go down that path?
Okay, I've never really gone back, but this is the first time I'm going to say this out loud. But when I was in law school, we used to have like sessions where some experts will come into the room, and I can remember, I think it was EmpowHER Law. I don't know if they're still in existence or they've pivoted to something else. But then we had the guest come in and he spoke to us about cloud computing, saving things in the cloud. And this was back in 2012, 2013, when I was in law school. And I was like intrigued with how he spoke about how technology is changing the legal field and how as young lawyers, it's time for us to embrace it. And that time, technology law was relatively new. So I was really like inspired by that conversation. So I went for my service, and then I saw this application. A friend showed it to me to apply for a tech law firm. So it's technology advisors where they specialize on technology law. And I could remember that someone had the conversation about EmpowHER Law and how the cloud. And even when I had the interview with my boss at the time, Mr. Basil Udotai, I had related that story of how that person inspired me and how it was interesting to see a technology law firm at that time that just specialized in technology law. And then just walking there drew me in because, I didn't have the background of learning it in school. So this was me learning it in the field as you work. So you have to do research, you have to read more, you have to do a lot of learning and then looking at what other countries are doing. And kind of like after working there, that had been my focus on cyber crimes, on cybersecurity, and the rest is history, they say.
Amazing, I must say. That's remarkable. I did some research and I found out that technology law is actually a male-dominated kind of field, I would say. And it's interesting. Of course, you're a female. That is why it's interesting. What gave you that confidence? You've answered that question, but I want you to, okay, let me rephrase my question. Going into that field, in as much as you said you got an inspiration by, you called the name, and of course that inspiration pushed you into that field. I believe getting into that field, you had to go with confidence, because seeing that it was relatively new at that time. Mm-hmm. How were you able to boost your confidence to be able to scale through into that field and of course become this amazing person that you are now?
I think that for everything that you start as a young person, or even when you're older, when you start something, it's relatively new to you as well, right? But it's also the process of having, a boss that would challenge you. So, he'll always say, Pana, he calls me Pana. He'll be like, Pana, so what have you read today? He's asking you, what are you doing today, right? So you have to challenge yourself to always read. He would say, subscribe to newsletters that focus on technology law, have Google alerts. So when the news, you have to watch the trends, right? So that was something that he taught me as well, that you have to watch the trends to be able to educate yourself about what's happening. Yeah. Sometimes in the global world, before it comes down to Africa, you have to have read it to see what are the trends that are happening in technology law, what are other countries doing. You have to also throw yourself out there, because at the end of the day, you have to read, you have to research on what's happening. You also have to get mentors. LinkedIn is really a great profile where you can go and click and see people in technology fields and see what they're doing, organizations, follow them. I think the confidence is that by the time you keep practicing it, by the time you keep reading, it just comes naturally to you. I think that's
amazing.
Thing.
Wow, it's. I would say this is really inspiring. Of course, you have to do your research as a woman, of course, because it's a male-dominated field. So as a woman, you have to put in extra work. I'm not being biased, but of course that is it. But it shows that we women, we can actually even go heights and go lengths, of course, to get what we want. Truly inspiring. Now, let's talk about your advocacy and of course your women's empowerment. You are the founder of We Ignite Lives for Greater Nigeria initiative. Through that foundation, you are empowering women and, of course, young people. I know there are a lot of stories. You've come across various kind of emotional stories when in regards to women and girls. I would like you to share one success story that shows how, women can transform their community when given the right support and opportunity.
Okay, so there are many stories, but I'll try to just pick one. When we started, it was just about, and I think our motto is just impacting one life, right? Because if you can change one person's life, then that person can impact other people's life. It's about changing one life at a time, and that's what it was for us, right? Because sometimes we always want to quantify the impact that we have, and if you look at what success is, so what success is to us as an organization and to me as a person, if I can just impact one person's life, right, and then that person goes on to impact someone else, and then it cascades, right? So we have pivoted and done a lot of things, but I would speak to one that really spoke to my heart. So we did the WiLG Women's Mentorship Program, and I'd done a lot of fellowship programs and I'd done a lot of things, and I was like, how can I give back? And then I was like, okay, mentorship, right? It's about mentoring women. So I take out time. We had the call and a lot of people applied. But the joy of it is when you see what the women do afterwards. They had a project, they did a lot of empowerment, but it's the community that they build. And it's important to see women trust themselves, the sisterhood bond that they have, where if one person is having an event and posts it on the WhatsApp platform and others come out to support them. But it's also the stories that even one person will say, I got this opportunity because I was able to, what I learned from the program. right? And then you see that it changed their lives. And they'll message you and they'll say, thank you very much because I got this opportunity because of you. And that just shows you that, I mean, for me, it's like, it doesn't matter how many people, but if that one person comes back to say, there's been an impact and I got this opportunity because of that, then you know that they trusted themselves by putting themselves out there. And that difference that it makes in their life, because if they didn't have that opportunity, then they wouldn't be able to push themselves out there. So for me, it's the important thing where one person comes to say, oh, because of this training, I met someone, I was able to talk to someone and I had an impact. I think somebody, because we always still share opportunities, other opportunities. And a young lady went for the plaque interview and she mentioned that they were asking her, how did you find out about this? And she was saying, oh, it was through. And then it's just that story that, you know, the impact that it has on women's lives and they taking a chance on themselves. I mean, that's the most beautiful part of it.
Oh, that's amazing. And I believe you, of course, you'll be expecting more and more stories and more feedback, of course, from that, your initiative. You're doing really well, and I must applaud you for that.
Thank you very much for your kind words.
Of course, you have a podcast. In case you don't know, she's not just a lawyer or an advocate for women and girls. She also has a podcast called The Government Discourse.
The Governance Discourse.
Yeah, I would like you, let's dive into governance for a moment. You know, when we talk about government, let's even come back home. Women are like behind, I would say, on a scale of 100, we can say 40 women are into politics and they participate fully in politics. It's a male-dominated space, I would say. Now, in that case, as a podcast host for the Government Discourse, where you get to amplify, conversations around civic participation, why is it so important for women to be part of governance conversation, and how can they start to, engage even from the grassroots level? Because there's one thing to even engage when you're at the top, because you have people rallying around you. What about the grassroots level?
Okay, so I'll do like a backstory. When I worked in a law firm, I worked for quite a number of time, and I'm like, how can I give back? And then I was like, I want to go into public service. So I started looking for opportunities that help young people, and I found the Kashim Ibrahim Fellowship in Kaduna. Okay. So I went to Kaduna, where I served a year working under Malam Nasir El-Rufai, under the Kaduna State Initiative, that's the Kashim Ibrahim. So it gives young people the opportunity to get involved in public service, right? So it brings you in, it trains you, and then it puts you out there. So I had done that. I had done the Legislative Mentorship Initiative championed by the then Speaker of the House of Reps, Honorable Femi Bajabiamila, and who is the current Chief of Staff to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So I had done a lot of these things where I'm trying to build myself and understand why I need to go into politics. And then I said, how can I give back? Right? How can we get more young people importantly, and more women into politics and governance? And you ask the question of how can we get more people involved? The first thing we need to do is to educate ourselves. Because if you don't understand the political terrain in which your country is, if you don't understand what politics is, if you don't even understand that voting itself is a civic responsibility, if we distance ourselves from it as young people, we're going to lose a lot. Our voices will not be heard in those rooms. So for me, it was just important to say, as young people, as a young person that I am, how do I join a political party? What other opportunities, like other platforms are there to train young people? How can I amplify it? I mean, they're having currently, INEC is doing the continuous voters registration. Yeah. A lot of people may not know about it. So for me, it's about amplifying the voices of politics, engaging people to ensure that they take these opportunities as much, but you have to empower and educate people. And when I even started the podcast, it was, I just started, but like I would see people reach out to me if they have questions about civic responsibility. Okay, so the portal is open. How do I register? Then I start explaining to them. And then you just understand that there are a lot of young people that want to get involved, but they didn't know how to, because there are few organizations that are doing it, but they don't even know about these organizations. So for me, it's about awareness. And for young people, number one, we have to educate ourselves, right? About your educational terrain. Your political terrain in Nigeria, and then you have to get involved. We have to get involved in politics. You don't need to necessarily be in a political party, but it's important to be in a political party. You don't need to come out to run for office. Some people want to. You can run for office if you have that capacity, but you also need to know what is happening. You also need to know, you need to vote. We can't stay away to say, oh, my vote doesn't count. Okay, let's just give a demography example, right? If 100 or 1,000 people in this community, let's just say in our area, say we're eligible to vote, and 1,000 of us say our voices don't matter, we don't need to vote, and we don't come out to vote, what happens? The people who want to vote someone that doesn't have the capacity will come out to vote.
Exactly.
But if 1,000 of us say, okay, I would come out to vote. Just imagine our impact of 1,000 people over 500 people that will come out to vote. We will see that at the end of the day, our candidates will be there. We need to be also there to secure our ballot boxes.
Exactly.
We need to be in the room. Right now, there's a constitutional amendment which is pushing for the reserved seat bill and early voting.
Yeah.
If we do not come out to say, okay, my work would not allow me, if we have early voting bill, more people will come. I can take out time, come out and vote early, as opposed to voting, everybody coming out to vote on election day, where you may see delays, you may see it. But if they start voting early, INEC can be able to address those challenges. If we are not in the room to add our voices to those reforms, there's going to be the constitutional public hearing. We need to be in those rooms to add our voices, to say, if they want to incorporate technology, we knew what happened the last time. How can we address it? How can we address those gaps that happened? If we're not in the room to say, and we're brilliant, we have the technology guys and ladies as well, tech ladies. If we're not in the room to say, okay, I have a technology that can improve this. How can I work with government to improve that? If we're not in the room to say, okay, if they say this should work, and we're like, no, this wouldn't work. Why can't we try this way? Well, as young people, as women, as people in the room, we'll bring a diverse perspective. But if we decide to say, we're not going to be there, what will happen? Our voices will be lost. And the perspective of the older generation, or people that are not even as intelligent or brilliant as us, or the voices of women, the voices of persons living with disability, the voices of the youth, will not be there. So how do we bring all those perspectives if we do not get involved?
That's truly, that's actually very true. And I hope that as many that are listening to you now, please kill that political apathy that you have in you, and let us come out and, of course, do what we need to do. Someone says, voice of the voiceless. There are people that are voice of. Why don't you come out and be the voice of the voiceless? Imagine if each and every one of us comes out and stand as the voice of the voiceless. We would not have any voiceless, of course. But we're gonna go on a short break, and when we return, we have more questions for Veronica. Igube, stay with us.
Everybody has a stake in making the world a better place with love and compassion. As we thrive daily, we continue to strive to face the many challenges that faces our Earth, because together We all matter. On one side, we are exploring the captivating stories, the trends, the glamour, while on the other hand, we're looking at the love, the care and compassion from our champions. In our Stars Quiet Cove lies the burning passion for humanity, which is seldom known and unsung to the world. Join me on Famed to look at the flip side of your favorite beyond the regular.
For 2 seasons, Timeline has taken you on a journey of exploring real-life issues and solutions. Well, we are on to season 3 of Timeline, a space where we talk about real issues shaping our world. Here, we sit down with voices that matter, with people who are driving change and making impact. We are talking about more than just problems. We're talking about the attainment of our collective commitment, the global goals, the SDGs, and of course, our community-specific targets. Our conversations aren't just about highlighting problems. They're about finding solutions that truly works, solutions that touches lives and impact the globe. An appraisal of how close we are in meeting our global and community targets. We create rooms for honest, thought-provoking conversations, a ride that you wouldn't want to miss. Well, this is Timeline, where conversations lead to solutions that change lives. All right, welcome back. If you are just tuning in, this is EmpowHER. And of course, my guest, Veronica Igube, is still with us in the studio. And Veronica, beyond your professional achievement, what are some personal experiences and lessons that have shaped you into becoming who you are? Because I believe that you are not just a lawyer, you're a role model. You are someone people look up to. You're a mentor, you're an advocate. You literally wear lots of hats. Now, what's that personal, experience and lessons that have shaped you into this amazing woman that you are today?
I know it's cliche to say it, but everyone will say that their mentor or the first ball of inspiration is their parent. And my mom, she's a professor of sociology. So growing up, you would hear concepts like feminism, you would hear concepts like women equality, gender. She's a gender expert as well. So I'll always hear gender issues, impactful issues. But I mean, as a lecturer, I also saw her put in the work to her students. So my mom was the kind of lecturer that will call you. She doesn't see her students. Where have you been? I've not seen your updates, or maybe she supervised your project. She's supervising your project, and she has done the first review for you. She has made corrections, and she hasn't seen you back. She will call you and say, "What's happening? Where are you?" If you're facing difficulty, you will come. She'll explain. She'll take out her time to explain the concepts to you. So just watching her go the extra mile. Sometimes you'll be like, "Mom, why are you stressing yourself calling this person? They're facing something." And she's like, "No, you need to support your students to be able to push through." So you will see her take out her time to support her students. And for me, it was the impact that she had. And I would see her go the extra mile to have that. I think that inspired me to always in everything that you do it with excellence. It doesn't matter what you're getting back. For her, it wasn't the smile for her on her face was when she would see the students graduate, and she'd be like, "Oh, my student was able to graduate, they were able to defend properly." So for her, that was the joy, giving back to her students and the impact that she had in their lives. So for me, I took that part of her as well, the impact part of impacting people's lives for me. So the joy for me was the impact that she had on me, and also the exposure that she also gave me. So when she's going for women conferences, when she would take me along, because at that time I was the little one, so she would take me for conferences when she was doing her PhD. So it gave me an exposure to women. So she would let me run around in the conference. They'll have the stands, and I would just go and be asking questions, and that's what inspired me to be a lawyer. At first, I wanted to be an accountant, so I accompanied.
Can you see the not even law to international relations or mass comm, law, accounting? That's so...
I accompanied her for a conference, and there were these UNICEF lawyers. And that time there was this Sarah cartoon where they were trying to advocate for women's education and young girls' education, pushing parents through cartoons, through comic books. And I saw their stand, they had their stand, and I went there and I was talking to them, and they gave me the comic, and I was talking to them, and they were saying, "Oh, we are lawyers from UNICEF." And I was like, "Oh, I want to be a lawyer." And that's how I changed to being a lawyer.
Wow.
And so she has had a lot of impact in my life, and those key moments have also had their impact. That's as well.
Amazing. Well, for your personal experience, your mom held your hands. She walked you through this where you are right now, the space that you are, and all of that. Now we have young girls out, not just in Nigeria. We have girls around Pakistan and all of those countries in the globe that do not even have mothers to hold their hands and walk them through this journey of life. And they might even see this video and wonder, how can I achieve this? How can I even, go into the space of being a lawyer, being an advocate, being this, being that, just like Veronica? How can I achieve all of this? Now, as a woman, your own woman, now I'm not talking about mommy's part, I'm talking about you. What would you say to these girls out listening to you and maybe wanting let me put it this way, maybe looking at you as the mother figure right now because they have none to hold their hands? I would like you to look straight into the camera, your camera, and tell them what you feel they would need right now, what you feel they would want to listen to in order to push them into the path that they would want to go into.
I think that I will start by saying that you have to believe in yourself and you have to trust yourself. I think that one thing is that you should always remember that I think is believe in yourself. Whatever you dream of, just keep dreaming. Let your dreams scare you. Sometimes I would dream about things that I want, and it scares me because I'm like, how am I going to accomplish it? But when you start, you'll be amazed at the beautiful thing that you can do. Trust the process, believe in yourself. I mean, if I could tell my younger self, that's what I'll tell myself. Believe in yourself, trust the process, throw yourself like seed, and do it afraid. I think that's one thing I always remind myself to do it afraid. No matter how much anything scares you, do it afraid. And you would see that, and read as much as you can. Reading opens a window to different worlds. You would see it from the lens of the person or the author who is writing the book. I love reading memoirs, and when I read memoirs, you're able to not only learn from the experience of the author on their lives, but you're able to see that journey that would also inspire you. And it's never too late to start at anywhere that you are. Start. Believe in yourself. Dream. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be an astronaut. Never let anybody define who you are. Define who you are for yourself. The world will try to define you to say women can be in tech, women can be engineers, women can be architects. It hasn't been done before. Most times, if you share your idea with someone will tell you it hasn't been done before. Don't listen to them. If it hasn't been done before, then that's your first time to start it, right? And always open room for other women. So you're a young man, you're a young lady, wherever you are, when you're able to get into opportunities, always hold someone else's hand, and that person would hold someone else's hand. Do not shut the door at anyone.
Wow. Thank you so much, Veronica. I believe that as many that would listen to this would be inspired. And I hope we get feedback, just like you get feedback from your foundation. I hope we get feedback on how inspiring your words, is or was to them. Well, I'm going to read out a report, and I would like to get your opinion on it. Now, the American Bar Association has given a predicted report that When the history of legal profession is written, 2016 to 2026 may become known as the decade of the female lawyer, a time where the profession started to noticeably shift from a male majority to a female majority. Now, as a woman in the legal field, what's your remark on this? What do you feel about this? How do you feel rather about this?
I don't know. I feel indifferent. I feel like women have always been in the legal profession, right? Women have always been there. Women have always shown up. I mean, if the statistics is just looking at this shift, but women are taking those bold steps, right? To say, I'm forming my own law firm, right? And technology is also helping because you can have virtual. You can now have a virtual law firm as a woman, right? We're breaking those barriers. You're even seeing a lot of women. I mean, I and my friends are coming together to start a female law firm.
Oh, amazing.
But you're seeing women take those steps to say, I too can do this. I can be here. But I think that from time immemorial, there have been women who have broken that glass ceiling and gone to the skies and explored the Milky Way, if I can put it that way, in the legal profession, right? There are women who have risen to the ranks of chief justices. There are women in the field of judges, in the field, senior advocates in Nigeria. I mean, globally, you have women who are just shattering the field and taking up new spaces, fashion law, space law, technology law as well. And the world is yet to see. I mean, they keep on seeing. I would just say that women will keep on thriving. But what we're also seeing is women are not just staying to litigation itself. They're exploring different fields. So they are infusing their passion with the law as well. So like for someone who loves fashion, they're infusing themselves to fashion law. Women who love sports are going to study sports law and not restricting themselves to the traditional litigation as well.
Amazing.
So that's happening.
Thank you so much, Veronica. We had such an insightful conversation on EmpowHER today, and thanks to you, and of course, thanks to your brilliance that you brought on the show. Well, that's where we draw the line. I call it a wrap-up on EmpowHER. I am your host, Shauna J. Until next time, stay empowered, stay inspired, and of course, stay safe.